Hi guys, so here at 40K Gaming for the 40K Championships, Team Championships. It's 3 to team and you play separately, so you basically choose who you're going to play against. It's tactics about who your team chooses you to play against, so you might be going up against the list that, put yourself up against the list that you think that you can beat, or maybe the opposition get the choice, and then you have to go up against a army you know you're going to be very weak against. So it's going to be an interesting format. We've got 5 of the guys from BFS Wargaming here, so it should be a really good day. I'm going to try and do some updates throughout the day if I get time, but we'll be putting loads of pictures up and of armies and things like that, and we'll give you a rundown of what happened definitely afterwards. So yeah, I'll see you in a bit. Hi guys, Patrick here from BFS Wargaming. So I'm going to talk to you today about the 40K Team Championships that went to at the weekend. So there was actually 5 of us that went. You'd have seen the intro I done on the day. So we're going to talk about, I didn't get any more chance to film on the day because there's just a lot going on. There wasn't much time other than to grab some food to get a bit of drink in you. So we're just going to go through and have a little bit of roundup of the day. So we'll start off with the 3 missions. So the first mission, the primary for all 3 mission was the Maelstrom. So the first one was tactical escalation, and then you had some secondaries, sort of like the ITC secondaries, but not the same. They were quite hard to achieve. You did get quite a lot. I think you got 4 victory points for each one, 3 for other ones, but I think I would have preferred if they just used the ITC secondaries, because there's more variety in them secondaries. There wasn't as many secondaries in this one, but it was still good. And then you had the tertiary, which was First Blood, Slay the Warlord and Line Breaker, which you got in every game, every mission. You got 1 point for doing it, and then you got a point for denying your opposition as well. So if you denied them Slay the Warlord, Line Breaker or First Blood, so you could both get First Blood as long as you killed a unit on the first turn. So yeah, it was a good mission. The second one was again a Maelstrom of War primary. Secondary was kill points, so you done it on how many points you killed. You got a victory point for every 100 points, and then you would round to the nearest 100. And then tertiary is the same, and then lastly again Maelstrom of War. Then there was secondary was Eternal War, which was Scorched Earth, which is basically where you for every objective marker you hold you score a victory point, and then tertiary exactly the same as before. So yeah, good missions. Like I say, the first one was the only one I didn't particularly like the secondaries, just because I felt they were hard to achieve and maybe not enough variety. There's a bit more variety I think in the ITC secondaries, but yeah, really enjoyed it. So I'll go through my list. So I had 2 Helverin Knights and a Paladin Knight made up my Knight detachment, which I got 3 command points for. Then I had a Outrider detachment of Custodes jet bikes with a shield captain on jet bike, and they were all running Hurricane bolters. And so that was so I had 7 command points to play with. I think it was quite a good list. Every time I used 2 command points at the beginning of the game to give the knight a warlord trait, which was the Iron Bulwark 4-up invulnerable save and the 2-up save. So basically I turned him into a Custode, which is sort of the theme. All of the knights and the Custodes were painted in the same colours. So that's my sort of theme for my Imperium army. Yeah, it was. So we'll start off with the first game. I'll go through who else. So I had Neil with me from BFS Wargaming, and also Dan. So Dan was taking his Drukhari, and Neil took. So Dan had. I'll go through Dan's list in his Drukhari. He had a couple of Razor Wings, a couple of Ravagers, a Reaper, 2 Archons, a Raider, a Venom, 15 Cabalite Warriors in 3 groups of 5. And I think that made up his Cabal of the Black Heart. And then he had a Homunculus Coven with 2 Talos, 2 units of 3 Grotesques, and 5 Mandrakes, and a Homunculus. Oh, and he had, in the other one, he had 5 Scourges as well with Haywires. So it was a good list. And Neil took Nids, Genes to the Cult, and Guard. So his Nids, he had Biovores, Hive Guard, he had 3 Hive Tyrants. I think in his Gene Skiller Cult he just had a Magus, I think. He might have had some troops, I don't know. But the Guard, he had mortars mainly. I saw a lot of mortars, maybe a couple of heavy weapons platforms and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a nice little list. So we started off and we played a team called Forge the Narrative. I think the name was a joke. Mark, who I had to play, so Mark Pocock, who played for the England ETC team. Yeah, he was my first game, so I was like, oh, I can't believe I've got Mark on the first game. And he's got a really cool Nurgle Plague Bearer list. So they had the Nurgle Plague Bearer list, they had an Imperial Guard list with, I think, 3 Leman Russes and loads of Guard, and then they had a all Custodes jet bikes list. So they put up the Custodes jet bikes, I think, first, and we put the Drukhari against them. Then we put up the Nid list, and Neil played Neil in that game. And then I had to play Mark, basically got the short end of the straw. He's a really nice guy, Mark, really, really good player. And yeah, it was a really good game. I'd done a lot better than I thought I was going to. So in his list, he has 4 units of Plague Bearers. Is it 3 or 4? I think it's 4 units, sort of 28. I think it's 3 units of 28 and 1 unit of 29. He has a tree, of course. 2 Nurgle Demon Princes. He has Stoppity Bile Piper, Epidemus, a Herald. He might have another couple of characters in there somewhere. It's a really, really cool list. And it's very hard to play against. Very hard to play against. So basically I did get first blood by taking out one of his Plague Bearer units. Oh, he's got some Nurglings in there as well. So I did get first blood by taking out one of his Plague Bearer units, but it was hard going. And then basically what happened is he got more and more board control, because I kept having to drop back to fire because I needed them Hurricane Bolter shots. And he just kept pushing forwards and getting more and more board control, getting more tactical objectives. I think, you know, if we had all the time in the world and the game just kept going on and on and on, I probably would have tabled him. But it was never going to go that long, and he knew it. He played really well. He's a really, really good player. And his list is just good. Like, it's a good list for getting board control and taking them tactical objectives. He can sort of play 2 ways. Well, more than 2 ways. And his list is very good if it goes up against something that he can kill a lot of, because it gets better and better. The Plague Bearers get better and better and better through Epidemus. And it's also good just because it's durable. I think the Plague Bearers are like -1 to hit if they start the phase with more than 20 for starters. And then obviously they've got a 5-up invulnerable, 5-up feel no pain, disgusting resilient. So it's a very hard list to get rid of. So they can just sit there and sit on all the objectives, and then you just have to try and shoot your way through it, and it's very, very difficult. But like I said, he was a really, you know, Mark's a really nice guy, really good opponent, and when you play him, you learn a lot. You learn a lot from the things he's doing, and he'll make you realise your mistakes. You'll make mistakes and you won't do it again because he'll punish you for them. You know, whereas other opponents might be more forgiving. They might not realise the mistakes as much. But yeah, if you make a mistake against Mark, he'll pick that out, and you'll know about it because he'll punish you for it. So yeah, in the other games, I think Dan with the Drukari, he lost against, I think his name's Joey with the Gusodi's bikes. I think it was a fairly close game in terms of, again, I think Dan, had it gone on, probably would have tabled him, but he had Joey had far more of the objectives. And I think Neil, so BFS Neil, I think he just had a terrible game on the dice. His dice were just awful. He just was not rolling well. Wasn't going well at all. Yeah, so we'll go into the other BFS team. So we had Mike, who we're going to hear from in a bit, and also Ollie. Unfortunately, Pete couldn't make it because he had some personal problems. So a guy did step in, one of the guys that was helping out, Craig. So he stepped in, which was really good of him. And he had a Knights and Guard list, I think. Knights and Guard. Like 3 Questorus Knights and some Guard. And then Ollie, bless him, took Orcs. Obviously, it's an index army. And he took, I think, 8 models. So he had a Stomper. He had a Morkanaut. He had 3 Killer Cans, a Deathcopter, and 2 characters like mech boys, whatever they are, the ones that help heal vehicles and stuff. But yeah, he didn't do very well with that list because Stompers are ridiculously overpriced at 974 points or something, whatever it was. I mean, my Knight was like 450, and in the game, my Knight did as much as the Stomper. I mean, the Stomper has got 40 wounds, but it wasn't that hard to take down. It just wasn't, you know, it wasn't that difficult. But it was a cool list, and also it's a beautiful army, a really beautiful army. Ollie's a brilliant painter, very talented guy, and it is a really, really beautiful army. So hopefully you'll see some pictures. But yeah, it's a really, really nice army. Obviously follow us on Instagram as well, because there's a lot of Ollie's Age of Sigmar stuff as well. He's a very talented guy. And then you had Mike, who took his World Eaters army, which is such a cool army. You're going to hear from him in a second. So yeah, he's going to tell you his list. I think he missed out when he was talking about it. I think he had some obliterators in there as well. And his Demon Prince Warlord, I think he missed out. But yeah, I'll pass you over to Mike, and he's going to tell you about how his day went.
What up, internet? Cloggy here from Banana for Scale Wargaming. Talk about the tournament we did last Sunday. I took a World Eaters list. I took a Khitan, 18 Berserkers, a Dark Apostle, Exalted Champion, 2 Rhinos, and Hellbrute. Did I say Khitan? I took Khitan. It was a decent list, quite scary looking list, but overall they didn't really perform very well, I don't think. The Khitan was a little bit underwhelming. Gatling gun, not great. Once you got him in close though, he smashed. He did real good. He was awesome. But I was just getting him close really. I played against a Death Guard list, 2 Death Guard lists actually, one really good list and then third one not so good, and then I did an Eldar army as well. The Eldar army was actually Dan from Banana for Scale Wargaming. He had a real good list. We had quality, good fun game, that one. The first Death Guard list I played against, they were good. They were real good. They proper smashed me right up. Mortarion just kicked Khitan's ass. He was not happy. The third Death Guard list, the third game, which was a Death Guard list that I played against, he was a bit new as well. I think the guy I played against, Willie was cool, nice bloke. He didn't really know what he was doing, I don't think, but he was new like me, and we had a good chat whilst we were playing and things. But I had an epic moment where I bombed my Khitan in. He surrounded me with all of his warlord, with loads of characters and loads of poxwalkers, destroyed my Kaitan, absolutely wrecked him. And then I rolled a 6 to explode, and he exploded, and it was D6 mortal wounds to all of his models around me, and it was literally the bulk of his army was just beasting on my Kaitan, and that took out his warlord, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant. The tournament itself was fantastic, great learning experience. I highly recommend it. I was a bit nervous beforehand how I was going to perform. I didn't go in expecting to do well, but it was every time I played, I got a little bit better, learnt my army a little bit more. Really beneficial from like a progression aspect. Highly recommend it, even if you're a bit on the fence about doing it. And all the other guys were there. It was a good laugh. Had the whole Banana Scale team, and all the other players there were really nice. Everyone was really forthcoming and really helpful. Even though because I'd never played like Maelstrom of War and hadn't used tactic cards that much, but everyone was really patient with me, even though I was looking at my toughness and strength of all my models every 5 seconds because I couldn't remember, because, you know, thinking is hard. One thing I would say though is take food, take loads of water, take loads of energy drinks, and rest, because my feet were pounding by the end of it. It was like 9 hours of wargaming, and I had what I refer to as like a Warhammer hangover the next day. And my brain, like work was hard the next day. Work was real hard the next day. But otherwise, highly recommend it. Definitely, if you're on the fence about doing it, go for it. So take care, interneties. I'm going to make myself a bacon sandwich. Oh, peace out.
Okay, so we're going to go on to talk about Game 2, as you just heard from Mike. So we actually played the other BFS Wargaming team in Game 2, and I actually went up against Ollie in his beautiful Stomper, and I won that quite convincingly. I felt bad because it was just such a cool army that he brought, but yeah, it was quite a convincing win. So, but Ollie's such a legend, and had a really good laugh playing him. And then in that game, as you heard from Mike, Dan won with his Drukari against Mike, and Neil, I think, had a really close game against Craig and just lost by a whisker. But yeah, really good. Oh yeah, and I'd like to say back in the game between me and Mark, I think he beat me. I think it was something. It's weird how the so we have to be sort of mathematicians on the day, because you sort of start with 20 victory points and then you minus or plus the difference of how many you scored. So I think there was something like 11 difference between me and Mark on the victory points in the end. But yeah, so going on to the third game, actually played. This is mine and Neil's second tournament. In our first tournament, we played two of the guys that we played in the last game, and they brought. So I think there was a Custodes Space Marine list, and Dan went up against them with the Drukari. Neil went up against a really good Imperial Guard list. That Imperial Guard list had actually tabled a couple of people. That on the first two games, he tabled his opponents. So I felt like I wasn't going to do very well against that list. So Neil stepped up and took that list. And then I actually went against a girl called Jordan, who had a really, really nice Death Guard list. So she had like Poxwalkers, a couple of units of Poxwalkers, Typhus, some Plague Marines, a couple of fetid bloat drones, the big tanky thing with the mortar on it, I can't remember what it's called, Mortarion, and the Forge World Demon Prince, the really ugly looking thing. Beautiful model in a really ugly way, and really nicely painted actually. Our army is really, really good, really nicely painted. So that was a really good game. Again, I won quite convincingly, to be honest. It all sort of hinged on Mortarion, and I managed to kill Mortarion by turn 2, and he hadn't actually done anything. Because we started 24 inches away, I didn't sort of move up on Mortarian's side of the board because I didn't want to commit suicide. So my Helverin shot into him and took him down to 7 wounds on the first turn due to me having some very good rolls and Jordan having some not so good rolls, and it ended. And then on the second turn again, I've put both Helverins into him and took them last few wounds off him. And after that, obviously, that's like 500 points of your army gone. I hadn't taken that much damage by that point. So then it was, and I'd taken out both Poxwalker squads and charged at Typhus. And so it started to go my way. And Jordan also forgot about her Terminators that are in deep strike. So she brought them in quite late, which hindered her a bit. But really, really nice to play her. Really nice girl, and I could say really good army. And it was, but overall, I thought the tournament was brilliant. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly hear from Dan, and then I'll speak to you in a second.
Hi, Dan here from BFS Wargaming. We attended a tournament at 40K. It was a 3-man tournament. Really good tournament. My first. The 2 lads, Pat and Neil, who I was with in the tournament, had already done one before. It was a really well run tournament. Thoroughly enjoyed the day. Did okay. As a team, we came 5th, which I was more than happy with. Played some really good players, and it was a really great friendly environment. The secondaries in the first game were a little bit difficult to achieve. My first game was against Custodes, and trying to kill 3 squads of Custodes is difficult, should say the least. The 4-up invons were hard to do. But the second game I did well in, and the third game was very, very close. So I hope to attend more at 40K games. I felt it was a really friendly atmosphere. It was competitive, but it was still a really friendly atmosphere, and it was really easy to play. And as my first tournament, and I'm not knowing what was going on as much, I found it quite easy to settle into and just enjoy the games and bit of a laugh and a banter in and amongst serious tactics trying to win, obviously. So hopefully I shall be attending the next one. Quite enjoyed playing the serious tournaments as well as playing like fun games. I'm going to change my list this time. I've found some things that didn't work well and things that did work well, but I think until you get into a tournament environment, you don't necessarily know, apart from obviously watching off what other people are doing. But yeah, I look forward to the next one, and hopefully we'll improve on our 5th place. So Dan from BFS out.
So to sort of summarise, the day was brilliant. It was a really great day, really friendly group of people. Forged the narrative. The team we played first ended up winning, I think, by quite a margin. But there was some lovely armies there, some really nicely painted armies. I think the tournament was really well run. Like I say, my only real gripe was the secondaries in that first one, and also maybe the scores weren't all that clear on how to work out at the beginning. But once we'd sorted that out, it was fine. Once you sort of know how it works, then it was fine. We did actually win a prize, our team, for scoring the most tertiary points throughout the day. So the Slay the Warlord, First Blood and Linebreaker, which is pretty cool. So we got a little prize. So we got a character each, which we could basically get a character of our choosing. 40K's Gaming's a great club, brilliant shop. Highly recommend if you're anywhere near Colchester or in the Essex, Suffolk area. Go and have a look. Go and have a look, because it's a really, really nice place and really great people. And Lee and Craig, who ran the day, really, really cool. Andy obviously hosted it with the shop. Really nice bloke. So yeah, I can't recommend doing a tournament there enough, especially if you've never done one before and it's something you thought you might want to get into, it's not a scary environment at all. Everyone's really friendly, especially if you tell people it's your first time, you know, your first tournament. People understand, they're really, really nice to you, and yeah, I can't recommend it enough. So lastly, I just want to talk about the list. Obviously Dan's talked about things that he would change, things like that. I think as far as that list goes, there's not much I'd change. I think it's a good list. I think it has its weaknesses and it has its strengths, but it's not something that I'm going to try and build on. I think I'll completely go with something else next time I go to a tournament. I'm not sure when that will be, but I think I'm looking forward to doing another tournament, and maybe I'll try and take a Necron list. They're not very competitive at the moment, but the next tournament I do might be after chapter approved, so therefore they may have got better, but who knows. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you're liking our videos, please like and subscribe. Check out our battle reports, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.